Hello, and welcome to the I'll Try That podcast. I'm Matthew Barber. Joining me this week are Joseph Druitt. Say hello, Joe.
Enchanté.
And Richard Drabwell. Say hi, Rich.
Hola.
Thank you once again for joining us. This week, in our pursuit of happiness, we'll be talking about Red Stripe. Iconic beer. Jamaican lager. Taste sensation. Before we get into that, we have the small issue of a hot topic to cover, for which purposes I will be going over to my colleague Joe. Joe, tell us.
Thank you, Matthew. This week... all fun. So this week, for the hot topic, I thought, given its time of recording, it's near the end of November. By the time of release, it'll be early December. I thought let's start getting into this Christmas spirit or the holidays.
No, Christmas doesn't start until December.
By the time the listeners will hear this, it will be December. It's very pertinent. It's just right now.
Ding dong merrily.
Fine.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. I tell you what, boys. This week I have started to feel a bit festive.
So, we're going to start talking about a new London Christmas beer market.
All right, I can get on board with this.
I know all those words, but I've never heard them used in that combination in that order before.
No, well, it makes more sense if you hear who is making this. So, the team behind the London Craft Beer Festival are set to host a London Christmas beer market on the 19th and 20th of November. So it's actually just happened. It was this weekend. The time of recording. We've missed it. Bugger.
Okay, that early then. Wait. We'll write them a letter and say, guys, can you put it back? Because the episode isn't coming out for another couple of weeks.
So now we found out that it already has happened. I've just looked up the London Christmas beer market, and it looked really good. The photos on Instagram that were tagged in, what they were saying on Twitter.
Did you say 29th of November?
No, the 19th and the 20th of November. So it was Friday and Saturday, just gone. I guess the whole point of it is, we're going this time of year. Everyone's trying to do some level of Christmas-related thing, trying to do something that appeals to the holiday crowd, as we say. As we know, London becomes an epicenter, an influx of tourists, of well-wishers, of people wanting to kind of experience or get into the holiday spirit. And, especially, with all the lights that go up around Oxford Street and Leicester Square and all the different kind of craft and kind of Christmassy stalls and festivals that come up, the London Craft Beer team are really trying to tap into that market. So it was a 2-day event that was held at a Truman Brewery on Brick Lane. So they're starting off right for a beer festival, starting it off in a brewery. And they featured more than 100 100 bars and stalls. So, they invited, and this is what I'm quoting from their website here, craft beer from more than 50 of the UK's finest independent breweries, including Gypsy Hill, Tiny Rebel, and Siren Craft Brew. So it does sound like something we definitely should have gone to, if I'm quite honest.
Yeah. Next year.
Oh, I love Siren.
It comes but once a year.
It does seem like this was the first year that they've done it, so...
Yeah, why didn't we go?
Apparently the tickets for early birds were £15. Maybe it was a bit more on the day. But, it was a day of festive fun in London for craft beer celebration. So, yeah, definitely one for next year that we can raise awareness for and we can do some work on and go to it ourselves. Maybe we could talk to some of those companies ahead of time and see if we can do a bit of an interview or two whilst we're there. But, yeah, I mean, that sounds like fun, doesn't it? A Christmas craft beer market.
Cool. I'll get my Christmas jumper out as well, actually.
Yeah.
Let's dust it off from last year. I do have one. Despite my reputation as a bit of a Scrooge, I have got one.
Can't wait to wear my Christmas jumper.
I mean,
again.
you guys had that aversion to me talking about a Christmas episode, a Christmas-related theme now. It was this weekend, the Christmas one. That does seem a bit premature, right? It is a bit keen.
Yeah. I mean...
That seems way early.
I think, post-second week. Maybe from the 10th onwards of December. I mean, 10th is a little early for me.
Well, you at least want it to be in the month of Christmas. You at least want it in the month of Christmas to go to a festive market. But maybe the German Christmas markets are booked out everywhere, because they are so popular in London and most cities, aren't they?
Do you know? Yeah, don't get me started though, because I've got a little bit of a reputation as a Scrooge, right? And someone last year was talking to me about.
So you said
it was like it was like the 5 days before Christmas Day, so it was about the 20th, and someone goes, "Well, come on, man, this is the 5th day of Christmas." No, it isn't. Christmas Day is the first day of Christmas, and it goes on for 12 days after that. That's why you take your decorations down on the 12th night. Don't. I'm gonna go on a whole getting Christmas right tangent. Sorry, everyone.
Well, I think when you're thinking Christmas markets, I mean, Rich might know of this as well. Obviously, he does know of this. But the one that springs to mind for me is always the Worcester, the Victorian market that happens around Christmas time. Actually, coming up in early December. But it's a market where Worcester's got this old heritage. It's obviously a very old city since Roman times and before, but they've specifically chosen to make this Christmas market all about the Victorian era. So down Friar Street, which is one of the oldest streets in Worcester, just off the City Walls Road, which, as you can imagine, is where the City Wall used to go around Worcester. And people dress up in Victorian garb and, they roast chestnuts.
Oh, that's cool.
And, it's all very, period of the time. You're walking down Friar Street with these old Victorian buildings, with thatched roofs, and you've got all these kind of chestnuts, and then you kind of emerge down this street into, what do you emerge out into, Rich?
Well, like an awful theme park of sorts. Like those rides that you see from if you ever seen the film Final Destination and there's the whole roller coaster scene sort of thing. It's just loads of rides like that you think you're going to die on when you sit on them. Because they're just kind of wobbling and all that sort of stuff. But the merry-go-round's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. So it's got a bit for everything, I think is what we're saying. There was a Christmas market. Even to the point where you can go on the waltz, the ones where you sit in this kind of circular thing with a bar down which spins on a spinning axis, and there's always that one guy running it who's running around the middle bit, and you're thinking, you mad person, what are you doing?
Distinct lack of any health and safety.
He's going to get turned into pate one day, isn't he? But I like that it's a Victorian market in Worcester, though, because that's how most of us most of our traditions and ideas about Christmas came about from stories written by Dickens, didn't they? And it was about that time we actually started nicking all the actual traditions off the Germans, and it was Germany who made most of Christmas celebrations. And I've just said that most of the big one is Birmingham, isn't it? And it is called a German Christmas market because they had this tradition for donkey's years before we ever had them. There you go. We've got it. We're going to put it in the calendars. 25th of December 2022, Christmas. 6 weeks before that, apparently, the Christmas beer market in London. However, to draw that section to a conclusion, we're now going to talk about Red Stripe, which obviously is a beer that we all keenly associate with Bristol, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it refers to itself as the Jamaican lager beer, and for all intents and purposes, it is through and through Jamaican, as far as I'm aware. I will talk a bit more about that, a bit later on. But for me, I think, and for you, Barbara, we know of Red Stripe through our time in Bristol University, and being university in Bristol, and experiencing all that Red Stripe has to offer as the canned beer of choice in many of Bristol's, drum and bass and dubstep scenes.
And street corners, toilets everywhere.
I'd like to also throw it out there, the first time I tried Red Stripe was in Bristol with you two.
There you go. So Red Stripe very much is a Bristol through and through theme. I mean, actually, I think other than this podcast, just now, this episode, the last time Red Stripe touched my lips was probably on Thekla, which is the boat nightclub in Bristol. Some many years ago.
Once upon a time, pre-smoking ban used to smell of smoke all the time. Now it just smells of wee. I think there's a problem with the plumbing.
I was thinking first time I tried this was when we went to go and see our old school friend Dom's band Peace. Was it the local swimming pool?
I love that you've called it that. That was University of Bristol Student Union.
Was it? It smelled like a swimming pool. Yeah.
We're in some hellhole.
All intents and purposes. Yeah, we lived just down the road, around Victoria Square, just down the road from it, and that was good fun.
Quite the hoi polloi of students, weren't we?
Oh,
at that
yeah.
stage, because we'd both worked for a year, so we were like going to go back to finish off studying, and we're like, oh, Clifton Village, ironically sipping our red stripe.
Yes.
I still did the best parking I've ever done in my life outside your apartment, and I still think about it to this day. How well I parked in a parallel parking spot there. It was a magical moment.
It would be worthy of the Instagram account.
Oh, 100%.
Actually, if you still have a picture.
This isn't just going to be a reminisce of times in Clifton Village, but do you remember when we came out, Barbara? It must have been like October. You were going off to your job at the local pub, and I think we were, Bonnie and I were maybe just going off for a little bit of a day trip, and then we're going to come meet you at the pub later. We walked out of our apartment building to snow.
It was all snowy.
And it was all snowy, and it was like a winter wonderland. And we're thinking, hang on, this is early October, what's going on? And lo and behold, there was a film crew that had been set up and had turned our streets into a winter wonderland, unbeknownst to us. So we just thought we were just having an early winter time.
Like a period drama as well, I think, wasn't it?
But anyway, we're digressing. Bristol, synonymous with Red Stripe, but let's really unpack about Red Stripe. So,
to us, anyway. Yeah.
What do we think of when we think of Red Stripe then?
I did, as my usual, did a little bit of research. I say a little bit minimal, into Red Stripe, and it was brewed by Desnoes? Really bad. I'm awful at this.
I've been saying Desnoes as well.
Desnoes and Geddes in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And it was first introduced in 1928 from a recipe developed by Paul H. Geddes and Bill Martindale, and is also brewed in the Netherlands by Heineken. Nice.
Now, I'd like to jump in there on that fantastic fact, because you're right, it is a Jamaican beer. It's referred to as Jamaican lager beer, and we think of it as coming from Jamaica. However, that is not the case. It's not actually from Jamaica.
Oh.
So, Red Stripe has always been made to think of it's from Jamaica. It's originally by Desnoes and Geddes at the Surrey Brewery on Peachon Street. So the recipe for Red Stripe was first produced in Illinois in the United States of America before it was eventually sold to the brewery and it was brought to Jamaica. Not that it really matters that the recipe came from, of course, but it's interesting to think that its origins can be traced back to the US itself.
So we've been duped again. Was it Desperado that was meant to be?
Yeah, I think Desperados was like was a manufactured beer, like to be like in Mexican style. But you're right, actually, because this is basically the 1918 equivalent of Desperados, of creating a beer to be all around a proposition of a country, whereas actually the recipe itself probably comes from somewhere else.
They're just pulling the wool over our eyes. It's the...
So actually, the one thing I found interesting about this is I read, I think as you just alluded to there, Joe, 1918 was when the Desnoes and Geddes brewing company was founded. The first actual beer, the bottle of Red Stripe was released, for want of a better word, in 1928. So in that period of 1918 to 1928, they actually probably went through an experience much like what you're going through at the moment, Drabbers, in terms of just waiting to get the beer absolutely right. Either that, or they were just being quite lazy, not doing anything. I imagine they were working.
You know what? I've already 100% expected my beer is going to taste awful, and it's
But it's fine. You've got a decade. If you can do it in a decade, you've got the recipe for success. Now, talking of that first beer that was created in 1928, Barbara, is there anything significant that you know of about that 1928 beer?
Just that I think in the olden days that it was in a stubby bottle, wasn't it? Like the little... it was a stubby bottle. That's what it's called, isn't it?
I think Jamaican Red Stripe is known for the stubby bottles. It's always is referred to as bottle. But I was thinking more about the liquid. Does this ring a bell on anything you found out so far? So, the 1928 liquid is nothing like the liquid that we have today. So actually that first Red Stripe beer that was taken out was more like an ale. So it was very heavy, it was much darker than today's Red Stripe. And it wasn't until 1938 that the pale lager that we know as being this Jamaican lager beer came into existence. So if you want to go back to it on real things, it took 2 decades for them to get this popular pale lager to exist.
Yeah. So yeah, Trav, don't feel rushed, mate. You've got
That's all right. I've got
plenty of time.
I really can't wait for when we get to try my homebrew.
That's the only thing I'd say. It doesn't matter if the taste isn't perfect right now, but you do need to get a good name that's going to stick with you at least for 80 years.
Now, talking of Red Stripe as the name, when you look at Red Stripe, what do you see when you're looking at Red Stripe? When I'm talking about like the cans, talking about the bottles, talking about their branding, what do you see?
Big
red
white
stripe?
can, gleaming red stripe.
Yeah.
And also, there's the little bit of the black, the D&G, the
D&G,
D&G
that
is
one,
not
yeah.
Dolce & Gabbana. I think that must be Desnoes and Geddes.
You're right.
I would love it if Red Stripe was sponsored by Dolce & Gabbana.
Oh, they did like a collaboration.
Yeah.
They've missed a trick there, I'd say.
I'm
So
there
yeah, you're
for
right.
it,
I think that must be it. But what are the colours? Obviously we've got red here. You've said about white, but it's red, white, and black. It's basically the colours of
Yeah.
Red Stripe. They use black type on a white background with red, using those accent colours. It's very minimal, isn't it? As a brand goes,
Uncomplicated, I would describe it as,
uncomplicated. I love that word.
Compared to some of the other cans we've had, and if you think back to like Tiny Rebel and Siren and all of that sort of stuff, their cans are just heavily. This is minimal to nothing. It's great. I really like it. We should have more minimal cans.
It's great. It's also, and because it's simple and it's got to be close to what they had originally in that 1928 beer that first came out, that pale ale that they were first created, or was it 38 when the pale ale actually came to existence. But it's really standout. The fact that it is this big white label on either the cans or the bottles with this red stripe going through. I mean, you know it from a mile away. If someone's drinking this and you can kind of see a bit of it in the distance, you know what they're drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Especially also because, as Barbara said, those stubby bottles that it comes in is synonymous with this brand.
What I really enjoy when doing research to this, and you know how they beers and stuff will sponsor sporting teams and everything like that, and all the things along those lines. First thing, can you guys name me the greatest sporting film ever made?
It's not that good, mate. Mate, it's not that good.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Get out
It's
right
quite
now.
possibly the greatest.
It's not that good.
It is.
Yeah, I know. It was a classic. We were all there at the time when we were kids. We think it's funny. It's maybe a little bit.
It was
funny.
created by Disney. Let's not forget as well.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. It's a real shame. John Candy has obviously since passed away, and he was a bit of an icon. The film itself, I mean, it was never going to win an Oscar, was it? Let's be honest.
No. But it's easy watching and it's fun watching, and it's it's one of those ones. It's I can't think of, for my maybe uneducated mind, of like how many other Jamaican films that really focus around Jamaican culture that we think of. I don't know any other films that have done that, but yeah, Cool Runnings is what you're referring to.
Cool Runnings, but what I like, in fact, even more, that there was a Jamaican bobsled team in real life, which I think is
based on true facts, Barbara.
Based on
we love
true facts, yeah.
True underdog story.
And Red Stripe sponsored them.
Yeah, fair play.
Makes
Of course,
perfect sense. Of course it does.
Yeah. Look, could you imagine the marketing team of Red Stripe hearing that there was going to be a Jamaican bobsleigh team in real life? They're like, hold up, easy win.
Well, that's it. A Jamaican bobsled team. They were in America, weren't they? That's where they were going to be competing. That's where it was, and so the kind of obviously Jamaica, it was ex-British colony. They've got independence years ago, but it's got very close. It's in the Caribbean, so it was very close to America. It's actually one of the only places in the Caribbean where Americans can come to a country that's not owned by them or have real strong influence by them on their driving licenses. So you don't even need a passport to get into Jamaica if you're American. But I digress, because they have very close ties, Jamaica, to the US. And of course, a natural next step for Jamaica, a Jamaican-based company, was to sell their beer into another huge market like the States. However, the first time they ever tried to export Red Stripe into the US was in 1985, but these marketers got it completely wrong. They put the brand into, for many, many years before this point, Red Stripe was loved by American tourists going to Jamaica and experiencing the Red Stripe brand. So they decided, the geniuses that they were, to instead of putting it in their iconic brown bottles and little stubbies, they put them into green standard 12, US fluid ounces bottles, trying to emulate that Heineken bottle. So
oh no!
I mean, it just massively backfired. Americans were like, "What on earth is this? It's not the Red Stripe that I know when I go to Jamaica, and it's trying to emulate something else." So people are really put off by the fact that it wasn't in its distinctive brown bottles.
That tells you about the impact of having the packaging right, doesn't it? I suppose.
But it took the marketers 20 years to change it. So in the US, it was awfully sold and didn't do well at all. It took them 20 years until it got to 2005, where Red Stripe became, beer export volume exceeded the domestic volume and consumption for the first ever time.
I liked...
Look up the word stubborn in the dictionary.
I like to think they're all sitting in the marketing room going, we just don't get it. It's just not selling. We have no clue why. It sells really well here, but not over there.
It will. It will. Just persevere with it.
Yeah. Have you asked consumers why they don't like this? No, I wouldn't ask them.
Yeah. They don't know what they want.
They wouldn't know.
I know better. I'm a marketer.
Yeah.
I'm very pleased to say that most modern marketing techniques and tools have very much changed that mindset.
Well, we ought to maybe talk about the taste a little bit, though.
No.
I'm afraid I'm...
Who are you?
That's it, stubborn marketing. I am not sampling it from the iconic little stubby brown bottle. I have got it in can form, and a pint can, obviously to appeal to the UK-based consumers. But what a pleasant, easy-going, sessionable beer, I would say. A kick, a little kick at 4.7%, but it's this, as we alluded to earlier on, this is for me what you're having. You're going to a music festival, party, house party, flat party, with someone with improvised DJ decks. Oh yeah, talking to a real amateur here, aren't we, Joe? I'm talking about very much the student environment that Joe was mentioned earlier on, with just lots of these crammed in the fridge, just there's barely even anything else in there, and lots of people gathering around and listening to questionable music.
It's similar. It's just a very easy drinking beer. I wouldn't say it's groundbreaking in its flavour, and I wouldn't say it's something that's hugely distinguishable from other lagers of a similar sort of brand. But I do enjoy it, and I would buy it over other lagers of its sort.
It's quite a good point. I do wonder if I'm trying to think of what would be the other beers to for me to come unstuck on, but I got the idea of if someone really actually blindfolded me and put 3 lagers in front of me, one of which was Red Stripe, would I be able to pick it out?
I think you guys are very sentimental to it because of Bristol, and you have many fond memories attached to it, which is great. Which is really is a nice way to enjoy an alcohol. It's probably like when I've talked about beers that I've really enjoyed, but it's probably more I have very sentimental attachment to them. I don't think it's anything special, but I think it's considerably better than a lot of other stuff, not budget based lagers on the market. It would be like non-expensive.
Nicely, Drabs. I think for me, it's I'm affiliated with the brand in that I like the brand. I've got good memories and recollections of when I've had this product before. Liquid wise, it is a price driven product. It is probably one of the cheaper lagers out there. If you're in that way inclined, you can go to off licenses and break up a 4-pack into singles and so. I'm thinking it doesn't have the best, most prestigious. Reputation when it comes to Red Stripe, but for students and alcoholics alike, it's perfect. So no, I won't say that. I won't do that. No, let me just do that last bit. But for students and for those who are driven by price, it's got a good flavour to it. I have to feel though that I'm drinking from one of the cans as well. I think this is actually their 440ml can. And the fact that they have emblazoned on the bottom, in their bottom red section, serve ice cold is very fitting, because you don't want a lukewarm or room temperature red stripe lager.
Oh, yeah, so actually here, sorry, the real tangent. I've just remembered where else I get Red Stripe, and we have, I think there's a few in sort of this part of the world. I think there is even a restaurant in Bristol that's the same. Here in Cheltenham, we have, and I think it's possibly the best place you can eat out in Cheltenham, is actually a Sri Lankan street food restaurant called the Coconut Tree. And I went there, honestly it was August, but I can't remember. It was just absolutely roasting hot one summer's day, and we were in there having Sri Lankan street food with pints of Red Stripe, and that was just a marriage made in heaven. I can't recommend it highly enough, but it's because it's that kind of I think it was a good word I used earlier on, really suitable, uncomplicated, light, refreshing,
that's it,
drinkable beer.
Like, I really enjoy Red Stripe. I find it unoffensive and drinkable. Very, very drinkable.
And we think of Red Stripe as being this standalone Jamaican lager. I'm looking at their US Instagram, and they have released, you guys might shudder at this, but they've released 3 new flavours that are in a bottle that looks like the Corona bottles. They've released a sorrel Red Stripe, a melon, and a lemon Red Stripe as well.
What's sorrel? But yeah, I'm disgusted by it, but whatever it is.
That's the sorrel's one of those things where I know what it is, but I can't explain it.
All I can tell you is it's very red, cherry looking almost in the bottle liquid. So yeah, they've chosen the bottles that are like transparent, so you can see through them, and the different colours. So the sorrel one is very red, very cherry looking colour. The melon is kind of quite a more ambery, kind of darker amber colour, and then the lemon is the lightest of the colours. But yeah, they don't look. I mean, they'd be interesting. Obviously it's trying to hit into a different type of drinker, the kind of the lighter, the more kind of maybe the fan of flavoured beers. I've noticed they also have a Red Stripe Light as well, which I don't think has made its way to the UK, but this could be, their opposite. They're trying to have a low calorie version of their beer as well.
Just quickly, how are they spelling sorrel?
I think it's SORREL. And I'm concerned I've got it the wrong way around now, but I always thought that sorrel was almost like spinach, like a very fibrous plant. Yeah.
Well, that's because I've just Googled sorrel because I had no clue what it was, and it looks like spinach. And if Red Stripe and spinach, beer,
you did not think.
Yeah, that is weird. Especially because the colour through the liquid colour looks quite cherry-esque.
Like, I'm already there. I'm not there for it.
I think it's high in iron, and I don't know if that's a good reason for it to make a cherry sort of colour.
I don't know.
Question.
But would you ever try a sorrel-flavoured lager beer? It doesn't sound appetising in the slightest.
I mean, we did. In fairness, we did sort of go with the lemon one. We went, okay, fair enough. We all did kind of go, sorrel.
Yeah. I know. I've clicked on one of their Instagram pages where it says it's welcoming these
discontinued.
These 3. Yeah, sold out. Yeah, no, it says which one are you picking, and everyone's going lemon. Lemon. Is that one? But sorrel, yay, sorrel.
Because nobody wants a spinach-based beer. We're not Popeye.
Well, let's face it. We've talked about how brave, let's say, the marketers at Red Stripe can be throughout their history. Let's see if the sorrel version works.
And then I don't want to get anyone too excited, but in 2022, there's rumours of a Red Stripe turnip range. That's the one I think potentially less palatable than sorrel.
In collaboration with British farmers.
Yeah.
I'm saying that I cannot remember a time I've eaten sorrel.
I don't think I've ever eaten it.
It might be wonderful. It might be really nice.
In beer. But you're right, that's kind of like if your mum had to make a beer for you, what's she going to give you? You got to get your greens in.
Yeah. No, once was it a sorrel beer a day keeps the doctor away?
There you go, exactly. So talking of Instagram, Red Stripe on Instagram have 50k followers, and on Twitter they
All
have
from Bristol.
all from Bristol. No, it's quite big in the US, and obviously it's the national drink of Jamaica. It actually is sold and enjoyed in Jamaica quite substantially. So 2005 was the first time where the US market outsold the Jamaican market for consumption of Red Stripe. So this is a big deal. This beer is a big deal in Jamaica.
We're fairly convinced, though, that Bristol still consumes more than the US. Man, I'm sure I used to, if it was a rush to get ready for a night out, I think I used to drink it in the shower before going out as well.
I'm there for the
Hot
shower beer.
Cold Red Stripe.
Yeah,
It was magnificent.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe, Rich,
Barber,
and Simo.
Goodbye. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter.
I'll try that podcast.com.
And watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.